Some secrets are buried so deep, even those closest to them believe they'll stay hidden forever. But time is a double-edged blade. It heals, yes. But it also reveals. And when it cuts deep enough, the truth bleeds out. Today's story begins with what seemed like a picture-perfect marriage, a woman from humble beginnings who had finally found peace, a kind, successful husband, a quiet life, and a younger adoptive brother she had raised like her own child since he was little. After years of struggle, she thought she had it all, a home full of love, a man who adored her, and a family built on trust, until one day, while sorting through her husband's medical records, she stumbled upon an envelope, an old DNA test buried under innocuous paperwork. And in that moment, her world shattered. The boy she had raised, the sweet, gentle soul she thought of as a younger brother, wasn't her brother at all. He was her husband's biological son, born from a relationship he had with a former lover, abandoned, forgotten, and then unknowingly brought home by her. She had mothered her husband's hidden child, without ever knowing the truth. But the most devastating part wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing she had been cast into a carefully constructed tragedy, where the one who loved the most was the one meant to be broken. I was born in a poor village in central Vietnam, where the dry season cracked the earth like broken porcelain, and the rains flooded our kitchen floors. My father passed away when I was little, and my mother bore the weight of raising me and my younger sibling alone. But when I turned 18, a sudden illness took her too, leaving me completely alone in the world. No family, no future, just a gaping silence where love used to be. That same year, I met Phong, now my husband. He was the first person who reached out to me when I was drowning in hopelessness. 12 years older than me, calm, successful, and composed, Phong felt like the answer to every prayer I'd whispered into the void. He rented me a small room, helped me find a vocational school, got me a job. After nearly a year of growing close, we fell in love and married soon after. I truly believed life had finally turned a page, but then everything changed. One rainy afternoon, a small boy, maybe 3 years old, was left abandoned at the doorstep of the daycare center where I worked. No name, no note. Just a pair of terrified eyes that locked onto mine and wouldn't let go. I don't know why I felt such a deep pull. I'd never held a child of my own, but something inside me cracked open. I filed to adopt him, named him Dewey, and brought him home. Phong didn't object. In fact, he supported me completely, paid for everything, cared for the boy like a father would. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. Together, the three of us became a little family. It felt perfect, whole, but I had no idea that for over a decade, the two people I loved most in this world had been hiding a devastating secret from me. The life of my family had been tranquil, with Phong as the unshakable pillar. I worked as an office manager, overseeing a small fashion boutique, while Phong was busy with his business projects. Dewey, our son, though not biologically ours, received all the love we could give him. We lived in a beautiful house on the outskirts of the city, a place spacious enough for a child to play and study. I didn't have many friends. Most of my time was devoted to caring for Dewey and helping Phong with his work. Life felt perfect. But everything changed one summer afternoon. It all began with the discovery of an old bank card in Phong's drawer, a credit card from a bank I'd never heard of. I couldn't help but wonder why he had kept this card for so many years without mentioning it to me. When he left for a business trip, I decided to look into it further. I called the bank, and they informed me that the credit card had been opened years ago, and there was a secondary account attached to it with the name Wen Dewey Khan. The name wasn't unfamiliar. It was Dewey's full name, the child I had adopted into our family a decade ago. I even remembered the day I found him at the daycare entrance. The name Khan seemed to have been associated with the boy ever since I adopted him. But why was Dewey's name on Phong's credit card? my curiosity pushed me to seek answers. I went to see Nan, my best friend, who knew everything about my family. Nan paused for a moment, her eyes dark with hesitation before she spoke. "Actually, there's a lot you don't know," she said quietly. "Before you met Fong, he was in a deep relationship with a woman named Trang, Dewey's mother. But they broke up because they couldn't make it work for personal reasons." She continued, "Fong has always been quietly supporting his son, but he didn't want you to know, fearing it would ruin everything." The words struck me like a thunderclap. Fong had been in a relationship before me, and I knew nothing about it. But what happened to Trang? How did Dewey become my son? The next day, I decided to confront Fong. He returned home in the evening, his face weary under the dim lights of the living room. I sat across from him, an uneasy knot forming in my stomach. "Fong, there's something I don't understand. I found a credit card with Dewey's name on it. You need to explain this to me." He was silent for a moment, looking up at me with tired eyes, as if he had been expecting this conversation for some time. "So you know now?" he asked quietly. "How could you hide this from me for so long?" I whispered, my voice shaking. Fong sighed deeply, his breath heavy, as if bracing himself for the storm that was about to come. "I'm sorry, Lon. I knew you would be hurt when you found out, but you deserve to know the truth. Dewey is not our adopted son. He's my biological son, with my ex-girlfriend, Trang." His words hit me like a slap across the face, leaving me stunned. Yes, Dewey wasn't my adopted son. In truth, he was Fong's biological son with his ex, Trang. I had raised this child, loved him, without knowing his true origins. Everything I had built, everything I had believed in, suddenly crumbled before me. Fong continued to explain a past I had never known. Before he met me, he had loved a woman named Trang. They were deeply in love, but for personal and family reasons, they couldn't stay together. When Trang got pregnant with Dewey, Fong couldn't let her face it alone, but he also couldn't publicly acknowledge the child, fearing it would affect his future life. "Dewey is my son with Trang," Fong admitted. "But I didn't want you to know. I thought you wouldn't accept it, not after living with Dewey for 10 years. I couldn't keep it a secret forever." At that moment, a fire of betrayal, pain, and disappointment burned in my chest. Fong, the man I loved and trusted, had kept this secret from me. I felt like a stranger in my own home. The room grew unbearably quiet. I couldn't speak, could only silently walk out, my heart heavy as though burdened by a massive stone. The next day, I didn't go to work. I stayed home, watching Dewey play in the yard, unable to grasp the feelings inside me. My son was not really my son. Everything I had believed to be solid now felt like a sandcastle, swept away by a single wave. A week passed in a tense silence. I had decided not to say anything more to Fong about the secret. I needed time to think, to face the pain, to accept a truth I could not bring myself to accept. Dewey still called me Mom with that innocent smile, and I didn't know how to face him. How could I accept the truth that my son was the child of the man I loved? How could I look into Dewey's eyes without feeling the sting of betrayal? Fong couldn't change the past, but he had made the decision to confront it head-on. He admitted everything, promising that he would do whatever it took to protect me from further pain. Fong knew that, though the truth had been laid bare, the most important thing now was to keep our family intact. So that neither Dewey nor I would feel abandoned. Eventually, I made the choice to face it all. After many long nights of thinking, I realized that Dewey was still the child I loved, even though his origins were not what I had imagined. My love for him had not changed, and no matter how difficult it would be, I would continue to be his mother, Fong, and I would never go back to what we once were, but I chose to forgive him. Not because I could forget what had happened, but because I knew that sometimes in life, we must forgive the mistakes in order to move forward. The story My Brother is my husband's biological son is more than just a tragedy of betrayal and family secrets. It is a lesson in patience, in accepting unchangeable truths, and in the choice between hatred and forgiveness. In life, we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can control how we choose to react. Fong and I once shared a beautiful love, but that relationship couldn't escape the challenges that arose when his past was exposed. The truth about Dewey, the son I had loved as my own, forced me to confront the painful emotions and deep wounds of betrayal. Yet, no matter the circumstances, my love for Dewey could never fade, because that was the love a mother feels for her child. The relationship between Fong and I may never return to what it once was, but I've learned that sometimes, forgiveness and moving forward is the wisest choice. Everyone carries secrets and mistakes from the past, but what matters is what we choose to do with the present and the future. Love and family, no matter the hardships, are the most precious things we must cherish and protect.